Hello everyone and welcome to my new video. And what is this video about? Well, you may remember recently I did a video about making this beat repeat DJ looper type thing, and I half made a promise in that video that I was going to make more videos developing this idea, and indeed I'm going to do that now. So what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to open it up, make a few changes to suit my needs, and look at other ways that we can just make it more fun and exciting and interesting. And I'm going to do that right now. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save it as a new thing. I'm going to save it as part 2. Okay, that's done. So you may remember that last time we made this, and what happens is that you, when you hit that big enable button, it will play back whatever has recently been recorded into the buffer, and then you can jump around different positions of the buffer and in different loop sizes like this. So now we're in the buffer. And then we can change the position of the buffer. I'm doing this right now with the push, just twiddling the knobs on the push, different sizes. And then when you're done, you turn it off and you go back to whatever's happening in your set. So that's all cool. I'm going to open it up now. I'm going to open Max, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save it as something else. Okay, I'm going to save it as part 2. And I might even change the name at some point. I'm not 100% sure yet. Anyway, so let's have a look inside Max, and I'm going to try and remember what everything I did, what the thing is. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to make some changes to. First of all, I want to go into this waveform object and turn a couple of things off, like the just all the kind of markers on there. I don't understand what some of this means. Timing, BPM. Okay, so I've just kind of turned off all the markings there, and the snap, the kind of fader thing. Let's just see what it's doing. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like the way that that's happening. So I'm going to change that to indicator. Yeah, that's better. So now it's just like a straight up indicator. So if we close the inspector and go back to presentation mode, it's just going to nicely move around the sample the way that we want. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. And also I'd maybe like to change the color scheme of these to make them a bit more Ned Rushy. Let's go for the on color. We'll go for what have we got here? Let's explore colors together, shall we? Salmon. Which isn't actually my color, but I'm thinking of moving to it because I like salmon. And for the background, for the gray, let's go for let's see what we've got here. Background. What color are we on? Background off. Is that the one? Let's go for tungsten. Yeah. Okay. And we could maybe even do that with the playhead as well. Let's set the playhead color to salmon. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the most boring intro ever. Right. Okay. So what I want to do now is that I want to add more options for how we read back from the buffer. Currently, we're only reading through the buffer in a forwards direction. I thought it would be interesting to add other options for us to read through the buffer, in particular in a kind of ping pong sort of direction, like it plays forwards a little bit and then plays backwards, not like reverse. I don't think just playing something straight in reverse necessarily works. I think it's better if you kind of do like a forwards and then backwards, but like at kind of half the speed of what you want. So I'm going to try and put that in right now with my new salmon color scheme. So actually, before I do that, there are some things I want to do. No, I'll do those later. I'll do those later on. It's just a couple of edits I want to make to these U menus. I don't want all of these options. I don't care for triplets, and sometimes I don't necessarily want dotted notes either, and I don't really need 128 notes. That's a little bit silly. I want numbers that are going to work for me. The concept behind this is that it's going to be very nice in a performance context. It's a DJ looper. It's a DJ mashup mangle DJ. Mangle the DJ. Mangle the DJ, mangle the DJ, mangle the DJ. Okay, let's move away from the bad Morrissey impressions and get this going. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to use all this space over here to add a way to not just play the sample forwards, but play it in a kind of forwards backwards. I've said all of that. So I'm going to need to think about where I'm going to do that. So there's some very, very important things that we need to consider here is the maths, and also at what point in all of this process that we add this second like signal process. What have I just done there? Okay. So I was considering that I would just create a second instance of wave, and indeed all of this junk, and get it to do the playback ramp that I wanted. But actually I've decided that I'm going to challenge myself and use one instance of wave and then various different types of playback ramps, and then introduce something later on that will be very interesting of like crossfading between all of those different playback ramps. That's a long way down the line, but we're going to touch on that later on. To start with, let's think about how we can make the ramp go forwards and backwards. So let's just have a quick recap. What we've got is our top phaser here. Let's annotate this, but let's remove that from the presentation. So this is our top phaser. I'll zoom in and out in a minute so we can have a proper look at what's going on. Okay, so this is our top phaser. This is driving pretty much the entire patch, and then we're using some maths here to divide that ramp into smaller sections. And then we're using this part here to offset that ramp so that we can jump to different positions. If I pull a live scope up here, and we'll just do a quick recap on what's happening. So this is the top phaser. It's ramping from 0 to 1. This is the sort of sliced phaser. Let me turn Ableton down a little bit. We don't need to hear that. That's kind of the sliced phaser. So as I sort of change the size of the phaser, you can see how the ramps get smaller and then they get bigger here. This is the full ramp. That's so incredibly small you can't see it. And then as we add numbers to that ramp, we get our offset, which is coming from this plus point, this plus thing here. So if I move up here a little bit, if we set it as 0, the ramp moves down here. If we go to 1, we're here. If we go to 4, we're halfway through. You know what would be a good thing to do? Let's go into the inspector and change the range of this ramp from 0. It's currently going from -1 to 1, which is good for most oscillators, but we're not really working with oscillators. We're working with a ramp. So I'm going to set the ramp, the range of the I'm just going to set it from 0 to 1. I'm going to try and keep that handy so that we can see, if I go back a little bit, if we go back to our top phaser here, start playing again. Now we're kind of ramping from 0 to 1. So that's all very good. But what we need to do is we need to find a way to actually kind of make a triangle. We kind of need the phaser to go halfway through its phase and then come back down again, because that ramp is going to read through the wave. And when it does that, effectively what it's going to do is half play the sample forwards and then half play it backwards. Now, this took me a little while to work out, but I think I've nailed it. And what we're going to do is use an object called Pong. Now, Pong, where I come from, means that you have a body odor problem, but it also is a very good way to fold waves back into themselves. If you imagine, in fact, I can just demonstrate this right now visually. So if I take our top phaser here and plug it into the Pong, currently nothing is happening. But if I set a high value here of 0.5, then what's happening, let's turn Ableton down a little bit more. What's happening is that it's ramping to halfway through the phase and then coming back again. So if we compare that with the original phaser, you can see that as this one, what's a good way to visualize this? No, there is no way. The bottom one is the original phaser, which is ramping from 0 to 1. The top one is ramping from 0 to 0.5 and then back down to 0. So that's how we're going to get our sample to go forwards and then backwards, like a step forward, step back. But there's more stuff that we need to do, because we still need to have all of this maths here of setting our loop size and our sample offset, but we need to maintain this ping pong wave type thing. So how are we going to do that? Well, first of all, actually, let's just trash the Pong. Stop the transport. Let's make a new Pong. And let's take the modulo. So we were using the modulo last time to slice our phaser into smaller bits. And let's see if I can remember how to do this. So we'll take our phaser here, our top phaser, into our modulo, and we're going to use that to slice our phaser. And we could indeed use the same signal that we're using here, I believe. Is that what we want? No, we want this one. Okay, so let's take this signal here, which is determining the slice of our phaser, and then run that into the Pong. But the problem is, what is the problem? The problem is that we need to set this high value of Pong in order for it to ping pong back again. Now, we can't do that at the point of our master phase, our top phase. We need to do that at the point at which we've moduloed the phase. So we're going to need to take this signal here, which is setting how much we're dividing the phaser, and divide that again in order to set the high value of the Pong. So I could do divide, but I heard on the grapevine that dividing is actually more computationally expensive than multiplying. So rather than divide, I'm going to multiply by 0.5, which is the same as dividing by 2 anyway. So I'm going to take this, it's looking a little bit messy, but stick with me. So we've got our top phaser, which we're moduloing. And then we're the signal that's moduloing the phaser, we're also dividing by half, dividing by half, multiplying by half, dividing by 2 to set the high value of the Pong. So that can go straight into the Pong. There's a couple of things I can add here. A folding mode of 0, which is just fold. There are other ones like wrap and clip. Wrap is kind of the same as the modulo anyway, and clip will just stop the signal when it reaches that value. So I'll say low value of 0, I think, and a high value of 0, but that doesn't really matter because it's going to get set by the signal. So let's see if that's worked. Right. Okay. So it looks like it's working a little bit. Let's change it to a larger loop size. Yes, you can see how the wave has increased. And it's going forwards and backwards. Let's go for the 16th. Yeah, so a 16th. So a loop size of 16 is actually the whole size of the ramp. So you can see that the ramp is going halfway and coming back again. So that looks like it's working. Let's change the loop size again to a smaller size. Yeah, that's looking good. So, but we still need to offset it. So I guess all we need to do then is do a plus tilde, let's say 0, and then take the same number here that we're using to offset our standard forward ramp and put that in there. Yes, yes, it works. Oh my God, it's working. But how can we hear that? So let's create, all right, so down here, this is kind of going to be, oh no, we need to go before the modulo. So let's move some of this stuff down here. So this what's going on here? Let's reset that, okay. Oh my God, this is the thing. When you do root patch cables, you start moving things around. It gets, okay, so we're going to put that's still not good enough. Let's come down a little bit lower. That doesn't need to be that big. That's silly, right? Need to come down a bit lower here. Select that cable, route that. Okay, so we're going to put a selector in here. A selector is going to allow us to switch between multiple input signals, but output only one signal. So for now, I'm going to give it 2 inlets. So we've got an inlet for our first input and an inlet for our second input, and then an inlet to select which one is selected. So let's take this, which is our forwards playback, and plug that in there. And then let's take this one, which is our forwards backwards, and put that in there. Connect that to that. Let's make an integer. Let's set this to 1 and see what it sounds like. Okay, so that's playing forwards. Watch the playhead here. Watch the waveform. Let's go to 2. Yes. This is how... This is how we do it. This is how we do it. That's it. We did it. So... Oh my God, I'm so excited. Let's turn it down a little bit. Right, let's jump to some different positions. Yeah, you can hear how it's ping-ponging forwards and backwards. Let's go to a different loop size. Yeah. Yes, brilliant. Let's save that in case something dreadful happens. Save, okay. So... there we go. We've got like we've got a second option to determine the playback of our samples. So this is kind of already looking like an absolute mess, but I'm going to leave it like that for now because this could go on forever. It would maybe be interesting to try something like using something to kind of make the sample slow down. Like a kind of tape stop thing. How could I do that? I need a short break. Hang on. Okay, I've had my break and I've decided I want to change the waveform of that to salmon as well. Salmon. There we go. Okay, so there is a new object in Max 8.3. 0.2. I'm not really too sure exactly which version, whichever one came out this year. Well, 2 versions came out this year. Anyway, it's called Twist. Twist. Let's have a look at Twist. So what Twist does, let's zoom in really close to Twist. So what Twist does is that it will take incoming ramps, linear ramps, and make them curved. This is one of the fancy new objects that came in the new version of Max 8.3 that does MSP stuff, which is very interesting. I've been meaning to get more into them. So I thought I'd experiment with Twist. A good way probably to try that is just to do that. So if I take my top phaser, again, we've got our top phaser over here, plug that into Twist. Oh, I deleted my scope with my minimum and maximum ranges. Let's just set that again. Minimum range of 0, maximum range of 1. Okay, good. So if we have a look at what Twist is doing, let's start the, right. So there's our ramp. I'll just turn Ableton down. We don't need to hear it because we're going to see what Twist is doing with this oscilloscope. So Let's have a look here. The curve. Let's load up the curve attribute and set the curve to minus 0.5. So you can see how it's taking that incoming ramp and applying this beautiful curve to it. Let's go to like -9. Look at that. It's beautiful. And we can go into the positive range and then make more of a... Oh, I'm not very good with these things. Logarithmic, I think, or I don't know. I think like going half the rate is logarithmic and twice the rate is exponential or something. I don't know. Anyway, you can make these delicious curves. It's beautiful. And I'm going to see if I can use that as a third option for our selector to basically make the like a kind of pitch modulation. And I need to think how I'm going to do that. So it might be that all we need to do is just take. Let's first give the twist a curve. How do you at curve? Let's say minus 0.75, and let's see what the first phaser, the first ramp signal looks like through that. Okay, well, I guess what we could do is we could just add an extra input to our selector down here and see what that sounds like on our wave when we start the transport. Ah, that sounds fucking crud. Okay. So that's forwards, that's forwards then backwards. Yes. All right. So that's not quite. Yeah. Okay. No, that's not right. It sounds cool. It sounds cool, but it's not right. And look at that going. It sounds cool, but it's not the right one. So okay, there's definitely whoa. Okay, it definitely sounds cool, but it's not the right one, and we're going to have to work out how to implement the maths so that it basically, I want each playback option to be, you know, replicated in terms of the loop size and the start position. So imagine that you're still, you know, setting a loop size and a start position of the buffer, but you can change how much that chunk of that buffer gets played back. Does it play forwards? Does it go forwards and backwards? Or does it do a pew? And so with that, I'm still going to need to think about the maths. So with that, I might leave it there and we can pick that up again in part 3 once I've gone away and thought about how I'm going to do that. So with that in mind, I'll actually delete that. Put the selector back to two, and then I'll just add a parameter here for that. How am I going to do that? So I'm probably just going to use. I'll use a live tab, and probably the most important thing that we need to do for this new live tab is make it salmon, because you know, salmon. Yes, I like salmon. And then we're going to choose how many items we want in that. So let's just say forwards, and then let's say ping pong. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Forwards and ping pong. And then we will put that with our selector. Now the selector is needs number of 1 and 2, this is going to send out 0 and 1. So we need to do +1. And we can connect that like that. And then let's see if this works. Okay. I could probably add a quantizer to that. Remember in the last video, we did this nice signal-based sample and hold quantizer type thing. I'm not going to do that right now. Because I just wanted to get this ping pong thing in there before I forget and fall asleep. So we need to add that to the presentation. We're going to run out of parameters quite soon. Well, in terms of on a bank of 8, like most MIDI controllers have. But right now I can see by looking at the push, I've got a couple spare. So I need to give it a name. We need to go back into the inspector. I need to give it a scripting name. So we'll link to scripting name and let's say playback. Playback. That's okay. Let's close the inspector. Let's lock the patch, double click the live banks and then go to our 7th item and choose it's not there. That's a bit irritating. Maybe if I hit save, it will be there. There it is. Okay, playback. Right. So that's cool. Let's go into presentation mode and let's, for now, we're just going to put it there. This is going to take a little bit of work. Oh, and I want to do those U menus. So I don't want, there's a handful of note values I don't want here. I'm going to leave in some of them though, because when you have the enable quantize to 16th notes, it's kind of quite nice. You can just punch in and out of your buffer at a 16th note. More on that another time, but let's just delete. I don't need all of those. I don't want that. 8th note's fine. Don't need the dotted one. Oh my God, I've just gone and deleted them. Don't need the triplets and the dotted notes. This is fine. Yeah, that's fine. And in fact, I want it like that for all of them. So I'm going to copy that, go OK. For that U menu, go into this one here, go into edit, select all of that, hit paste. Okay, that's fine. And then where's the other one? Where's the other one? There it is, buried beneath some cables. Okay, let's go into edit. Let's select all of this, go paste. And let's just check that they've all worked. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, let's save that. Close the inspector. Come out of here. And let's have a look at our thing now. Nothing. Okay, let's turn that off. Right, so we're recording into the buffer. Yeah, that still works. Loop size. Let's change the quantize to something a little bit higher, like 16ths. No. Oh, that's the wrong one. I can't remember how this works. Right, okay. Let's just set them all to 16ths. Yeah. Okay, let's try 8th. Let's try quarter notes on all of the quantize. So I'm doing this on the push. Sorry, you can't see. But if you look at the U menus, you'll see that they're changing. Yeah, and then let's try the forwards backwards. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. All right, I think that's good for part 2. So, oh, I just got an email. That's concludes part 2 of the Ned Rush Beat Repeat DJ Looper Max for Live development project vlog thing, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go and put this on my Patreon now. So people who have been following this along, you can get that. Or if you're new and you're into this sort of thing, then support me on Patreon and you can download this and all manner of other things. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Probably going to be very soon because I'm really into this. So yeah, that's it. Nice one. See ya.